Hello, this is your evening news from Vox Africa studios in London. I am Pamela Bonkyung. Let's have a look at today's major headlines. The African Union forces in Somalia are making a headway inland of Kismayo. Should we be celebrating yet? Blast in Nigeria overshadowed the country's celebrations of its 51st Independence Day. Meanwhile, violence in Syria leads to the destruction of a World Heritage Site. The African Union allied forces have deployed fighters into the center of Kismayo, the former stronghold of Al-Shabaab militants. The militants fled the port city following an offensive by the AMISOM forces. Residents in the town are, however, worried that the fighting has caused food prices to go up. Somalian analysts are worried that the vacuum created by the absence of Al-Shabaab need to be filled quickly, or it could give room for more violence in the area. Here is Sector 2 Commander Brigadier Anthony Ngero of African Union Mission in Somalia.
Yesterday, we liberated Kanjil, which was about 20 kilometers from Kismayo town. Today, we have managed to get to as close as 5 kilometers from Kismayo town, from where we are going to make further plans for the complete liberation of Kismayo. Right now, the troops who are beach landed in Kismayo are controlling the northern part of Kismayo. This includes the university, the old airport, and to some extent Goboin Bridge, which is a very strategic bridge because it connects Kismayo to the rest of the northern part of the city.
As the African Union forces there, as you've seen in Somalia, continue to advance inland into Kismayo, there was an attack yesterday which left 2 police officers dead in the Kenyan border town of Garissa. Sympathizers of Al-Shabaab are said to be behind the attack as an offensive for driving its militants from its stronghold of Kismayo. The town of Garissa, which is just 180 kilometers from Somalia's border, is inhabited by ethnic Somalis. Garissa's deputy police chief recounted that the 2 officers killed were shot as they walked to a technical college, their post of duty. The killers approached them in a driven car and shot and took their guns away. Meanwhile, the celebrations of Nigeria's 51st Independence Day have been overshadowed by a bomb explosion near an Islamic school in Kaduna, northern Nigeria. The 2 attackers died and several others were wounded. The school was run by a Salafist cleric by the name of Awal Adam Albani, who is known for his public criticism of Islamist group Boko Haram. No one has claimed responsibility for this bombing yet. A Nigerian man has appeared at a court in Johannesburg charged with involvement in the Abuja bombings. Henry Oka was taken to South Gauteng High Court for masterminding 2 deadly car bomb attacks during Nigeria's 50th Independence Day anniversary celebrations. He was arrested in Johannesburg shortly after that. Oka is allegedly the leader of the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta, which claims responsibility for the blast. The case continues. 55 people are believed to have drowned as they tried escaping the floods in Benue State. Their boat is said to have sunk following a mishap on their way to Lokoja in Kogi State. The victims were women and children from the Agatu-speaking communities. Their farmlands and homes had been submerged in the floods. The Benue State Commissioner for Water Resources and Environment, Mr. John Mbede, says he needs to confirm the story. Matters have also been compounded by the submerging of the shelter for displaced people, the LGEA primary school camp in Lokoja. In Somalia, a United Nations report states that the empowerment of the country's youth is the way forward for the war-torn country. Jennifer Anafi-Akwar has more on the story.
The future of Somalia and the well-being of its people rests significantly on empowering its large youth population, the United Nations Development Programme said in a new report. The Somalia Human Development Report 2012, Empowering Youth for Peace and Development, is the first report of its kind in this war-torn Horn of Africa country in more than a decade. Somalia's young people aged 14 to 29 make up 42% of the total population, and given the right opportunities and support, they have the potential to become major drivers for peace and stability in the country.
We empower the youth of Somaliland in employment opportunities, in conflict resolutions, in leadership skills, in all these youth empowerment activities. So the country may, you see, develop into a positive direction.
The Somalia Human Development Report, which is based on surveys conducted in more than 3,000 households in south-central Somalia, Puntland and Somaliland, finds that young Somalis resoundingly want to be heard and want to participate. They want to play a part in shaping the future of their nation.
It will start from education. If they think about empowering those people and giving them the confidence and the tools, they can do something.
The report reveals that although 82% of Somali youth believe they have the right to be educated and 71% the right to decent work, they feel disempowered by multiple structural barriers built into the family, institutions, local government and society at large.
Higher education is blossoming, and against all odds you meet young people who are pushing themselves through medical education, through legal education, through commercial education, under very difficult circumstances, but the demand is such that you can see that young people are really looking for a way to move forward.
UNDP says radical shifts in policies and attitudes are needed in order to empower and place youth at the core of the development agenda.
Young people will inherit this country. They will need to be supported and educated.
Including youth in society is not just about creating opportunities, it is also about limiting risks.
The emphasis needs to be on them. If their capacities are built up, they won't join pirates and militias, and our society will be free of criminals.
The report calls on the government, the private sector, civil society and the international community to include more actively young people by developing national youth policies, creating more job opportunities and supporting youth organisation and youth-led initiatives. The report also contains a youth charter developed by youth representatives from Somaliland, Puntland and the south-central Somalia, with inputs from a wider group within Somalia and the diaspora. It calls for the free and compulsory basic education and greater representation of youth in Parliament, and serves as a guiding set of principles that the government, development agencies and civil society should abide by in order to engage youth and ensure the inclusion of their needs in the design of the development policies.
I just feel like I can do anything. I can do whatever I want. If it's good for me, for my family, for my country, I can do it.
After decades of factional fighting and lawlessness, Somalia has been undergoing a peace and national reconciliation process, with a series of landmark steps over recent weeks helping bring an end to the country's 8-year political transition period. These steps include the adoption of a provisional constitution, the establishment of a new parliament, and the selection of a new president.
Meanwhile, moving there from Somalia, we move to Sudan, where Médecins Sans Frontières has had to cut off some of its services near remote areas in Pibor following attacks by Mali militants. The workers are said to have fled to the bushes. The successful agreement between the Sudans has been blighted in South Sudan by Mali militants who are threatening the security of the country. The threat is said to be coming from former theology student David Yao Yao, the leader of the Merli group. The situation was ignited by government troops who come mainly from the Nuer ethnic group and carried a string of abuses on Merle women and children while stationed there. Hilda Johnson, the United Nations Special Representative for South Sudan, said she will be monitoring the situation very closely. And still more on Sudan there, where the situation in Maban County refugee camps in South Sudan has been steadily declining. The camps are overflooding, and though there has been talks with government to relocate some people, it has not happened yet. I spoke with Alun MacDonald, an Oxfam representative who recently visited Maban County to find out how the situation really is.
Well, the refugee camps have been getting bigger for the past year. There's now more than 100,000 refugees in the camps, and in the past few months we've seen very heavy rains, which have made large parts of the camp flood, made it very difficult for people to get services or for aid agencies to get supplies into the people, and have also led to an outbreak of waterborne disease, which has already killed a number of people in the camp.
What is the situation with these waterborne hepatitis E?
Well, we've been sort of fighting against waterborne diseases like cholera and malaria for the past few months, with some success. But in the past couple of weeks, there's been an outbreak of hepatitis E. So far, at least 16 people are confirmed to have died, but many more cases have been reported. And the concern is that as the rains continue and as the camps remain extremely overcrowded and with very poor conditions, then the outbreak is likely to get worse over the coming months.
So what has Oxfam been doing to help those living in those camps, especially with this outbreak of hepatitis E?
Well, Oxfam has been, we're working in 2 of the 4 camps in Maban County, working with about 30,000 refugees. So we're providing clean water, either through boreholes or through trucking in water from outside. We're also constructing latrines to try and improve the sanitation in the camp, to try and prevent the spread of diseases. We also have public health campaigns happening in the camps, which are intended to try and pass on information for new arrivals about how to prevent diseases like cholera, diarrhea, and hepatitis E. It has been very, very difficult for us to work there because this is a very remote part of South Sudan, and there is very little water available in the ground, so it's been very difficult to provide as much water as people need in this location. So people haven't been getting as much water as they really should be.
Are there any other organizations or NGOs that Oxfam is liaising with on this?
There are a few different organisations working in the county. So there's the UN Commission for Refugees. There's various other NGOs like Oxfam, such as MSF and Goal, and a few others that we've been working closely with to provide the aid that people need. So Oxfam leads on providing water in some of the camps, and some of the other agencies lead on things like medicine or healthcare. There's also the World Food Programme working there, who is currently dropping supplies of food aid because unfortunately air is the only way to get a lot of the aid into the county at the moment.
Moving from South Sudan there, we do a great leap forward to one of the islands just off the coast of Africa, Comoros, where a ship has sunk as it tried ferrying across some inhabitants of the island between Moheli and the Great Comoros. 6 people have been reported dead and 2 women have disappeared. They were not illegal immigrants, and rescue teams have been trying to recover their bodies. The accident has highlighted the difficulty of transportations between the islands. Far and few flights in between have meant people take the dangerous sea journeys. Now it's up to Cairo in Egypt, where a court has adjourned the trial of Abu Islam, who is accused of burning a Bible during anti-Islam film protests in front of the U.S. Embassy. Abu Islam, who owns the private satellite channel Al Omar, faces defamation charges against the Christian faith for tearing and setting ablaze a copy of the Bible. His son Abu Yusuf and Hani Yassin Gadala, a journalist, are also facing charges of defamation as they took part in the burning of the Bible. Meanwhile, east of Syria, as fighting intensifies in Aleppo, and Aleppo's medieval market, which is a World Heritage Site, was burnt down as well. The site, which was a major touristic destination, was destroyed by heavy shelling and gunfire in the city. Up to 1,000 markets are believed to have been destroyed in the medieval Souk al-Madina. Still in the Middle East, a spate of attacks across Iraq yesterday has killed 34 people and left some 85 wounded. There were 12 car bombs in major Iraqi cities and towns. The attack, which took place in Taji, an al-Qaeda stronghold located just 30 miles of Baghdad, was one of the deadliest. Another one took place in Karada district in central Baghdad, following a car bomb detonated near a police patrol. A police officer and a policeman were killed and 5 people, 2 of them policemen, were left wounded. There were replications of similar bombs in eastern Iraq in the city of Kut and Diyala. And it's all business in Afghanistan, as Afghanistan have taken strides by changing laws to attract foreign investors. According to its mining minister, the country has courted ExxonMobil, the world's biggest non-state oil corporation, to scout its oil field in the north of the country. ExxonMobil has yet to accept the request. However, the security issues gripping the country has led many investors to flee investing in it. In July, Exxon seemed to budge as it showed an interest in the Afghan-Tajik basin, which is said to hold an estimated 1.9 billion barrels of oil. Kabul might just be making a headway as Chinese firms are leading the race to exploit the country's copper as well. Here is Afghan Mining Minister Wahidullah Shahrani.
23 companies they had applied in the initial round. 23 companies or 24 companies, they had expressed their interest for Afghan-Tajik basin. Out of 23 or 24 companies, 8 companies, they were being shortlisted for the second round, in the sense that these companies, they were being requested to submit their final proposal, the detailed one. And ExxonMobil, which is the largest publicly traded oil and gas company in the world, is among those 8 companies. The relevant team or committee has been in regular communication with them. Hopefully, they will, at some point, they will visit the area, but that visit is not mandatory. It's totally up to the company, because those companies, most of them, they are well established in the region. We will also give them a tour of the area where they can go and see the area, the oil fields. They can have meeting with the community leaders. They can make themselves familiar with the condition of the infrastructure, all those things until the end of September. Okay. And some companies they have already visited. Some companies they are about to visit the area.
Now let's go to Asia there, where residents in Okinawa, Japan, have been protesting the deployment of U.S. aircraft due to safety concerns. The United States flew in 6 hybrid Osprey military aircraft to the country's southern island. The aircraft crashed early in Morocco in April, killing 2 Marines, and also in Florida in June this year, injuring 5 U.S. service members. Local politicians have expressed their anger at the deployment. And as the Georgian parliamentary polls are ongoing, there have been claims from activists that it is marred by violations. Opposition has reported threatening phone calls and irregularities in the process to be followed by the Electoral Commission. 2 activists are claiming they were beaten as they tried to distribute badges for the election observers in the village of Akasashene in the Gujani region. A Georgian Dream Coalition spokeswoman recounts more on the situation.
As polling stations opened this morning, some 20,000 voting observers, most of them from the NGOs, could not receive their ID badges and their official registration paperwork, so they could not enter the polling stations. So some coalition members of the commissions received threatening phone calls from people claiming to be police, and they've been told that they are doing some wrong things with the voters, so they have to go to the police stations today and tomorrow.
We head back to Central Europe as reforms are to be introduced by Spain's ruling People's Party, and this has led to a strike today by metro and bus workers. The workers, who are striking for the third time in less than 7 days, are demanding the government stops the implementation of labour reforms on workers covered by collective bargaining. According to the new law, the workers will get a 7% wage reduction. The strike has led to long queues at the bus stops. Meanwhile, Spain's Rajoy has been meeting with the EU Economic and Monetary Affairs Commissioner Olli Rehn to discuss modalities relating to Spain's bailout package and whether the country will be needing more help from the International Monetary Fund and the EU in order to meet deficit targets. Pussy Riots, the anti-Putin group, had their appeal hearing postponed earlier today to the 10th of this month as one of the band member, Yekaterina Samosevic, requested to change counsel. They appeared in court earlier this morning to appeal the 2-year sentence slapped on them for singing a song at an altar of Moscow's Orthodox Church, asking the Virgin Mary to do away with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Their supporters gathered outside the courtroom to protest and demand for the group's freedom. Let's head for Latin America there, where Cuban scientists are researching cancer treatments based on scorpion's venom. A species of scorpions with the mild sting have been found in Cuba, and scientists believe these scorpion's venom has properties that could potentially save lives. Scorpion farms have been opened across the country to cater to the scorpion venom medicine. The country's state-run pharmaceutical firm Labiopharm Business Group launched homeopathic medicine based on the scorpion venom. This medicine improves the quality of cancer patients' lives. Now let's have a look again at tonight's major headlines. The African Union forces in Somalia are making a headway inland of Kismayo. Should we be celebrating yet? Blast in Nigeria overshadowed the country's celebrations of its 51st Independence Day. And violence in Syria leads to the destruction of a World Heritage Site. Thank you for staying with us, and for more updates, please do visit our website at www.voxafrica.co/news, and have a lovely evening. Goodbye.